Okay, guys, so we're going to start today's session. So today is the last day that we're going to be here because the IDF Congress is finishing today. So tomorrow we're going to stay at the YLD Hotel. We have booked a room in the first floor, so it's going to be easier for everyone. No shuttle, no waiting for people who are missing the shuttle. And yeah, it's going to be easier. You will be able to sleep a bit more. So today we're going to focus the whole day on project planning. Today we were talking about advocacy. We have discussed a few things that we are going to revise again today. But today we're going to focus on how you can develop a project for your YLD term. And it can be on any topic that you choose. It can be purely on advocacy, but it can be on some other topics. As we told you yesterday, we would like everyone to at least have a small component of advocacy in your projects. So before we actually explain to you the different steps to develop a project, we have 4 YLDs that are going to share their experience with their own projects. So we have Thomas, we have Ines, and then we have Nurianne and Apoorva, who are joining us later. So each of us are going to explain to you their experience. And then what we're going to do is breaking down again the room in subgroups so you can work together and put into writing your idea for a project plan. The mentors are also going to be working with you. So this is really a good opportunity for all of you to learn from their experience because they are the ones who have been implementing their projects in the last 2 years, especially Thomas, Ines, and Nurianne, who were implementing it during COVID. You can learn a lot on how they managed to overcome the challenge that they found on their way. So I think, Thomas, you are the first one.
Well, great. As you may know, my name is Thomas Fuehrer. I'm from Austria, and I would like to talk about my project and also the things I faced or the issues I faced while implementing my project. I have diabetes since 2012, so about 10 years now, and I'm studying mechanical engineering and a little bit of law in Austria. Well, my project is called Schüler für Schüler. It's like pupils for pupils, and the main aim is to spread knowledge in school and to educate teacher and pupils in school. Great. So, how did Schüler für Schüler come about? Well, I don't want, or I do not have the time to go into this matter more deeply, but it was my time in school and the IDF Congress 3 years ago in Busan. You may know her, probably, on the right. Great. So, I would like to show you my website because I think it's way easier and you get a better impression, probably, so. Well, okay. The well, great. So the website is only in German. It is a Google translator, so you can read it. Well, it started with diabetes, and when you click here, then you have where is it? Lauren's story and Alice's story. It's like for primary school and secondary school. So, for example, Lauren. As I said, the main aim is to educate the people in school because you can imagine, or you probably can imagine, standing in front of the class and talking about your condition is not that convenient. So therefore, on one hand, the teacher doesn't have to present it because, for example, in Austria, it is a fixed part in the curriculum while studying. So one has to talk about it. And on the other hand, it's like the person with diabetes who, as I said, don't have to stand in front of the class and talk about it, and the whole community is educated and has the knowledge about diabetes. So there's 6 short videos. It's about what is diabetes, how do I get my diabetes under control. I mean, you can read too, but blood sugar, you can read it, exercise and diet, what do I have to pay attention to at school, and how can classmates help? Well, I said it's in German, but there are some subtitles in English too, so you can use it too if you want to. Great. A brief description of my project, but what I really wanted to say, or wanted to tell you, where is it? There. Well, it is expanding. There's hemophilia. It's another condition, chronic disease, and skin diseases too. So it's like a platform for educating in school. Some pictures. It was during COVID, so I was glad to have the whole school by my own because there was nobody. Well, I thought it would take longer, but I want to go on because why did YLD help me in that way? I mean, to be honest, we're sitting here in Lisbon. It was basically the same in Busan. We have a great time. We have so many interesting topics we talked about. And I mean, I think I'm full of energy and full of drive to change something in my country. But we already heard about this one, probably, or we will. So your project has to be specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time-bound. It's always the same, and it is important. But, I mean, I'm quite sick of those success quotes, but it helped me a lot, and therefore I want to, show you them. So dream big. Why dream big? If you set yourself a goal which is very high and you achieve about 40%, you achieve a lot. Because if you have a small goal and you only achieve 90%, it's probably less than a big goal where you achieve 40%. So don't stress yourself not setting a too high a dream or goal because you probably get stressed out. But it helped me a lot because, well, it's, I think, a great project. I don't think so, it's mine. Another one, success only comes to those who dare to attempt. So you have to start. There's never the right time to start a project. You just have to do it. And you have to act. You have to do something all the time. You have to, as I said, do something all the time. And it looked like, for me, like this one. So you got up a hill, you achieved something, and then there was a little stone. And I stumbled over, and bam, there. So, and it was, in Busan, it was 3 years ago, and after a few months, there was COVID. So it was like there. And I was glad that I had a mentor, because it's always like those obstacle runs, I say. There are some obstacles where you have to jump over, or where you go underneath, or you have to do something. And networking, so as we are here doing, and a mentor will help you. Great, because there you have about 1%. And the sooner or the later you will face those problems, because after Busan, I was in Austria, as I said, COVID, nothing. Everything was closed. My project looked not the same as this one. It was a completely different project, and I had to adapt it. And there, my mentor and the network, so my friends, helped me, really. And that's the last slide, because I think it's so important that you keep going. You have to, as I said, act, and you have to start. So please start, please act, please, if this one happens, you can jump over the next one, because you already know what's not working. Thank you.
Thank you, Thomas. We really appreciate it, and definitely, I don't know about the others, but at least me have tons of questions regarding like the whole process, and I will bombard you with them later. So now I'd like to get our next YLD who will present her project. So Ines.
So my project, okay, thank you. My project was based on the European co-founded project, and it was about sports and diabetes. It started actually six years ago when I had a lot of questions when I just started my advocacy in the field of diabetes, but I was already involved in the European projects. So in European sports projects. And I started to get a lot of questions from parents who were asking me like, what we can show to coach that they can understand about diabetes, that they can know how to deal with diabetes during sport, and that they are not discriminating my kid because they didn't want to train them. At that point, when I was just telling yesterday my girls that after 4 of these calls that I had, I go to my friend and I told her like, this is like already like 4th question in 2 months that I got. So is there anything that we can do about the European projects that we can get funding from the sport options to educate coaches? So this is how everything started, to educate coaches, but at the end, we were educating not only coaches, but parents and kids and youth with diabetes. The main goal of this was to enable kids that they are doing the sport as any other person who doesn't have who doesn't have diabetes. So to give them the education and to give them something where they can jump over the obstacle that Thomas was saying. During that time, we had a lot of steps. First step was making a survey, which we were sharing around. And in that survey, we did find out what are the topics that people needed to know about this topic. After that, we started to writing the project. We started with collecting the experts who already know about this topic to find us the research that are talking about. What was the first obstacle where we pointed out? It was that we didn't get the project on the first application. And it was because we said that there is nothing about that in the world. And they say like, oh, we have Googled the topic of sports and diabetes and we have found lots of articles about that. And we said, after 1 year of application, so next year we reapplied, and we told them like, yes, there is tons of that, but they're all written from doctor to a doctor, not from a doctor to the kinesiologist, to the coaches, to parents, and to kids. So nobody could understand everything what doctors are saying. And this is what was like, okay, checkpoint. We did surpass the first obstacle. And this is how actually the project started. And when we finalized the writing of a handbook, we have done the focus groups to evaluate the project. So this is one of the SMART objectives that you will hear after it. And it's very important to evaluate everything what you are doing. In that case, you will know how successful is your project, what you can make it better, and what you can make it even, I don't know, to feel that you have actually done something. So these are our focus groups that we had over 4 countries. And after that, we have done DIA camp, which was for athletes with diabetes. From 11 to 17 years old, we had 22 athletes, kids, who were participating in Split on the camp. We had 5-day camp. Every day we have done the different sport activity that they can teach how different sport activity can affect your blood sugar. So it's not only that sport is lowering your blood sugar, but sometimes it can also get it high. Also during activities, during camp, we had workshops, and some of you are here. I know Elisaveta was there as a youth mentor, as a former athlete who was trying to help to kids that they can share their experience and that they can get as much experience as they can. So as I said, the focus of this project was to spread awareness that athletes with diabetes can do as many as every other person. They just need to take some appropriate actions. This is actually how the handbook is looking now. It will be over in the next few weeks, and it will be available for downloading on the webpage. It will be free, and it will be translated to at least 5 languages. It will be English, German, Italian, Greek, and Croatian, of course. But if anybody else wants to help us with translating to their own language, we are here to help you with that and to make the graphics while somebody give us the translations. We also have done the handbook in few different ways because we understood that you cannot speak to the kids and to the coaches at the same way. You cannot give them, kids a little bit know more about diabetes, so you don't need a lot of introduction about that, while coaches doesn't know anything. So there are some different tactics that we were using, and on the web page will be available to download just a few pages which are important for the coach, which are important for kids, which are important for parents. And in printed version, everything will be the same in the book. And also for kids, we have done the comic book, which is more...
Ines, I'm
yeah?
sorry. I could be sitting here and hearing you to talk about like diabetes sports the whole day, you know that, but we have other people to listen to, and also we want to go to the practice. So like, thank you very much for like the amazing contribution that you give to.
Can I just show this here? It's important for them.
Sure.
Okay. So our original plan was planned to be 20-month project, but we added a little bit few more months to if something happened. And of course, COVID happened. At the end, we managed to extend it, and this was our one big barrier, and which we are still facing, because even with this extended of 6 months more, we couldn't do it in that period because all of the experts that were doing it, they needed to work in the hospital. They were working in COVID hospitals, so they didn't have time to do everything, and also all doors were closed. But it was just the measure of time that everything surpassed. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And congratulations. It's amazing what you have managed to achieve. So our next speaker, you already know her, Nurianne Arias from the happy island of Aruba.
All right, good morning. I'm going to introduce myself shortly because I think some things you don't know about me. My actual job is teaching at the university. I teach adults, just like you. That's my job, my full-time job. I also do research for diabetes. So that's something that will be relevant in a few minutes. So I was diagnosed in 2015. I was already an adult. And diabetes became my thesis topic, and that's how things really started. Okay. You already know I'm from the one happy island, Aruba. Very small, 120,000 people live on this island, more than 96 nationalities, so it's a beautiful mix. So I will start this way. Life is unpredictable and it's full of surprises. I'm a person of planning and scheduling and putting everything together because I want everything to, go perfectly well. To my surprise, that was not the case. So when I left South Korea with awesome peers to go back to the island, I started right away to plan what I thought was going to be a diabetes camp because I love to work with kids. And education is something that interests me all the time. This is what I thought was going to be my project. So according to me, by 2021, we would have a project that was running every month with different education activities, camp style, but distributed through the year. Mind you, everybody knows, March 13th, our Prime Minister announced COVID on the island. So, this became my plan. I tried to implement the project in 2020. I tried to start, but there were a lot of issues in the education system, so I ended up doing something completely different. And instead of doing a camp, we tried to start with education sessions in schools. That was the second try, right? I had like 20 tries. Anyway, so in 2019, I planned, I thought about what I was going to do. 2020, COVID hit. I couldn't start. In 2020, I started to restart. And then in 2021, we started restructuring again, and COVID was a problem again. So I couldn't start. But one thing I learned is that everything is about timing. You can't control time and the timing of things. And this year, finally, last month, we finally started with the projects in schools. We decided to do diabetes kits and use the diabetes kits tools with some motivation, of course, from Bruno and also from IDF and from the National Foundation. We started with the sessions. And I must say that I learned that you need to learn to readapt immediately to the circumstances. What matters is not that you implement your plan perfectly well. What matters is that you're contributing to the diabetes community, one way or the other. So because there was so much going on, we finally managed to go to 4 schools in November, in Blue November. You can imagine, we did everything about diabetes in the same month, with the whole year that we had. So if you see, well, I'm not on all the pictures. And why I'm not on all the pictures? Because I pushed the project, and then I stood back and I just contributed with the project. We collaborated with diabetes educators, general practitioner assistants specialized in diabetes and cardiovascular disease, schools. This was, I think the upper picture is our neighbor school is just right next to my university. And also the local diabetes foundation and the general practitioners. And that's how it actually happened. When we came together and united all the forces, it actually happened. So do that first. Collaborate, find your people, try to distribute the work and the load to plan your project and implement it, but most of all, be determined and persistent. So I think you're thinking, what did you do in those 2 years before 2022? Okay, so here's a few things that I was doing. I was doing a lot of social media posts, videos, I was doing interviews, I was participating in activities outside of Aruba and collaborating with other campaigns like the Hay Campaign for Health and Environment in Barbados with other advocates from the UNICEF. I was doing research for a self-management education program for people with type 2 diabetes. And I did research for that project, and we learned that it really helped people. And I was really trying to make this happen. So people, please use all your skills, everything that you know, everything that you're good at, and everything that you love is going to help you in your project. If it's not one thing, it's going to be the other, trust me. And while I was waiting for the perfect timing, I was doing research and doing interviews and using my voice at my university, in my community, personally coaching and helping other people with diabetes. And it really goes down to the passion and the purpose. Don't forget that. So surprises are not always obstacles. They're just not there to make you struggle. Like this morning, I couldn't reach because there weren't any buses, but I'm here. So it's really meant to happen and it's meant to be surpassed. That's why they're there, and for you to open your eyes to new opportunities. And that's how I got involved in different projects and other ways of contributing to the community. So don't close your eyes to new opportunities. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Uh, we were expecting to have Apoorva. Unfortunately, she couldn't make. She will be joining us later. So
just one thing, we have actually a visitor to the room. So we have Debbie Jones, who used to be very engaged in the Young Leaders in Diabetes program a few years ago. Actually, she's one of the people who started the program and was involved from the beginning. So yeah, let's give her a few minutes to address all of you, and maybe in the meantime, Apoorva will arrive. Thank you, Debbie.
Oh, thank you. I'm not going to say very much. I'm just going to say how really, really proud I am to have this program starting up again as it was. And just to say that what you're going to do, you're the future. You're the future of diabetes in the world. And that was the whole reason for wanting to get the Young Leaders in Diabetes program started, so that we would have people who would come to the table already understanding all the politics, all the things behind it, and to really be able to not walk but run and make a big difference. And I know you can. Like all of our young leaders, and so many of you will have seen, like Gavin and Mohammed and all the other young leaders who made the trip here so that they could see you and be part of this movement. This is exciting. It's exciting for us to see the future, and hopefully you're excited about making a big difference. So I just wanted to say how proud we are of having such a wonderful program, and it's wonderful that you've got Kyle and Mark and Beatrice and all of you who will make a huge difference. So thank you for letting me just come and say hello.
thank you, Debbie. Bea? So, while Bea is getting ready, yesterday, after we had dinner, a couple of us were talking and discussing about some of the challenges that we may face. And something that it was common mention, and we came across when going through the reports of the YLDs that will be graduating tomorrow, is that unfortunately more often that we would like, YLDs face some challenge, some issues when dealing with their IDF members. This is something that has to be said because it goes beyond our control. And unfortunately, sometimes the IDF members, they don't really understand the importance or the relevance of the YLD training. They don't understand their role on this journey that goes beyond signing the quarterly reports, but this happens. So what I just take this moment to reassure that the executive office and especially the advocacy team are here to support you. And the most important thing is communication. So if you have any issue, any challenge, don't hesitate to contact us because we are there for you and with you. So I just wanted to make this point clear. And this is naturally will come along the way, but as fast as you communicate with us, the fast we can act and we can support you the best way we can, okay? So please, Bea.
Yeah, good point about communication, Bruno. So you remember yesterday being stuck for 50 minutes in this bus in that narrow street in Lisbon? So communication is very important for something small, as in someone is having an IPO and you want to tell the rest of the people. But communication is also important for longer, bigger projects. So always, please, guys, communicate. Be vocal, express yourself, because otherwise the rest of the people are not going to know what you want from them. So, Bruno and I are going to explain to you the same steps that we explained to the previous cohorts for them to develop their projects. Then we will have the session short with Apoorva, and then we will start working in groups. So, the YLD individual projects, obviously they have to be diabetes focused, and they have to be developed in agreement with your IDF members. This is super important. To avoid any issue, you need to really discuss everything with them. You need to go in detail about the plan that you want to develop, and they need to agree with you, because we have had some issues in the past, not many, but it has happened, of IDF members saying that they did not agree a lot with the focus the YLD was giving to the project. So you need to do this in collaboration. It's going to be better for you, because you will have support from them, and it's also going to be better for the Diabetes Association, because they will benefit from the work that you are doing. You will have to do this during 2 years, 2023 and 2024. It's fine if you finish your project mid-2024, but we really ask you not to focus on a 3-month project. Think of something a bit longer. You have the examples of Thomas, of Ines, of Nurianne. Think about something that it's a bit longer term. And this is mandatory for everyone. What happens if you cannot do your project for whatever reason? It's fine, but you will have to report on what has happened. So I couldn't do my project, I couldn't do anything in the last 2 months because I broke my leg. Okay, you write a report and you say, I was planning on doing this, this and that, but unfortunately I couldn't, and this is the plan that I have now for the next 3 months. We're going to present you with, I think, 6 steps to project planning. Do you want to go ahead with the first one, Bruno?
Sure, just one small comment on the note of the project has to be developed in agreement. And this is Bruno, the YLD speaking, and not the executive office. So, honest guys, in the end, this is opportunity, like it's a unique opportunity for you to develop yourselves. Sorry. Okay, so in the end of the day, the YLD program is a unique opportunity for you. Of course, we want to generate impact in the community and pay forward, but you were the ones deciding how you want and for how long you want to do this. So just be strategic. Like, even though the project that your IDF member wants to develop is not your dream project, but somehow is aligned to the goals of the YLD program, is aligned with some sort of things that you like. Just think carefully if it's not just the case of, okay, I'm gonna do this just to get it done, to be able to continue participating in the program. And after this, you follow your own path. Like, I mean, I know that we want to take advantage of these 2 years and do as much as we can, but just try to think on the long term. We have so many people in this room that founded their own organization after they took part in the YLD program. So just think that it's not worth it to stick with something that you're not necessarily passionate about, but thinking on the long term, what can you achieve if you remain in the network, if you remain with the program, and then you follow your own path. So this is, again, Bruno, the YLD speaking, based on my own experience, and I'm happy to talk about this later individually. So now I would like to call our dear Apoorva Gomber.
Okay, hi everybody, good morning. This is not my usual morning, but I think everybody had a terrible night yesterday after the rainstorm. I got super drenched, and then I'm like, my voice is not my usual voice. So this is not my usual morning, and this actually happens in project planning. So just be prepared. When you do everything, things don't go the way you're supposed to. So be ready for change. Today, I will be talking a little bit about what worked for me and the road to advocacy. Who am I? I am a physician. I'm Apoorva from India, and I trained as a physician, but also a person living with type 1 diabetes since the past 15 years. I joined YLD in 2017. First time, jumped into advocacy with no knowledge, just the knowledge that yes, pathologically what type 1 diabetes is, and I want to make a change. Because I had this passion that there has to be something beyond just treating and the management of type 1 diabetes. There's so much more. And that's what motivated me to actually think out of the box, to think about there's so much more to do in advocacy. And my journey into advocacy actually started from there. 2017, a naive person walked into an IDF young leaders room with just ideas to make a change. I had no idea about it, what to do, how to do. So for you to understand, yes, you want change, you want overnight success, but in project planning, this is not how things work. You will go through the path what looks like on the right. It will be you'll start, you'll be insecure, you'll be like, oh my God, what am I doing? This is not what I wanted to do. And then you worry, you work really hard, you fail a lot, a zillion times. And I can guarantee you, even with the project I thought would turn out to be, turned out to be way more different what I imagined. And I think that's what is good about project planning. And I'm sure you all have this outburst of ideas in your minds to make a change, to make a difference in your life, to ensure that every person living with type 1 diabetes not just feels that, okay, I can survive with just insulin. Access to insulin is a problem. We can survive, yes, but what does it take to thrive with type 1 diabetes? How do you feel inclusive as a community? So that's what is making a difference means. And it's going to look like this. Beware of that. So a little bit about when I started, that little naive girl who walked into IDF Busan, and I'm really grateful for Bruno and Beatrice to give me so much information, which I received in a room similar like this, that I could finally implement what I really thought. So on April 5, 2018, my thought was to create a leadership camp for people living with type 1 diabetes. I come from India, and in India, as a person living with type 1 diabetes, sometimes you are faced with extreme stigma. Now this, I just want to lay the base out there, is because of unawareness, maybe lots of cultural myths and barriers to any chronic disease, And that's what I faced. I was born in a family of doctors, and I hid my diabetes because my parents told me, it will make you misfit. This will not be a good thing if you tell it to your people. You will not get jobs. You will not get married. You are a negative, this is a negative barrier. Like it will act as a barrier in your life. I thought, probably yes, he's right. And I kept hiding my disease, feeling suffocated, feeling trapped. And after 5 years, I felt like, this is it, I need to find someone. And when I was in medical school, my own colleagues discriminated me, saying, she does drugs, and these are the future doctors of the world. So I felt miserable. There's so much things lacking, and that's what motivated me to think about the DIA leadership camps. It was a thought. I didn't know how to do it. I just wanted to make a change. So at the Young Leaders program, I learned so much from different parts of the world. This room is a huge resource. Every person in this room, speak to them, irrespective of whatever language they talk. They bring resource. They are your friends. They're going to help you in times when nobody else will. Even when your blood sugar is crashing, they will be the one advising you. So that's how my journey started. And with those thoughts and with the training I received at Young Leaders, I started this concept note of how I'm going to start a DIA leadership camp. And this started as a very small group of people living with type 1 diabetes in Delhi NCR. And I think Jyotsna would be able to give a really detailed view because she is still working on these projects and going to expand it. So at the DIA winter camp, we had 150 people living with type 1 diabetes, first time ever in Delhi NCR, which has never happened before because people were still hidden behind the doors, facing stigma. People had hid their disease for like 30 years, 40 years. So we wanted to create a bunch of leaders, irrespective of age, but living with type 1 diabetes, who have stories to voice it. So that's how it started. Fast forward to July 2019, because we wanted awareness, we wanted our people to be motivated to have their understanding of their own diabetes before they start getting into the world, facing different challenges. So we started a lot of training workshop along with it. So we did school awareness drives, carbohydrate counting workshops. We created a tool strategy, and where we kind of implemented that. It wasn't easy, but I used to, every 6 months, I used to send a note to Beatrice, this is what I planned and I hope I do it. And you have to remember, this was all self-funded, only by fundraising. We had no pharma, nothing to support us. But we did it. A lot of people say, we don't have funding. How will I do it? This is all self-funded. This is by the people, for the people, and for the well-being of people living with diabetes. So I want to say, don't feel disheartened if you feel that I don't have support of my own diabetes association, or I don't have the funding to do it. How am I going to do it? Figure it out. Your path will find its own way, even if it's a crooked path. So fast forward, December 2019, IDF Busan. We had multiple series of changes, but we launched the leadership camps and did 2 leadership camps over the course of 2 years, and also a lot of series of school camp drives, a lot of training workshop, pump workshops, and carbohydrate workshop. So if you want to know more about it, you can search it on our website, at the Young Leaders website, and just see how we did it. And if you want more information, I'm happy to help anybody with anything. I'm not usually this busy, but I will be available for sure. Bruno knows that. I'm just a WhatsApp away. So you will be getting something like this. So when we talk about project planning, what I want to lay the base out is you should know a rough timeline, what you want to do. Yes, there are certain outcomes you want to achieve. But also remember, you will always have barriers. So be prepared. Lack of funding, first barrier. Second, things don't go as planned. And you have to list that out. And just be prepared for it. Sometimes even lack of motivation. You're not that motivated all the time. You're dealing with your own diabetes. So there are days. So you just make note of that and consider that this will happen. So now, throughout my project, what were the lessons I learned? And I hope this will be helpful for you from the experiences I had. but I'm open to an open discussion after this from the experiences you've had in the past or whatever you want to talk about project planning. So I'll open the questions later, but what I felt, and from my experience as a public health researcher, physician, and also a person living with diabetes who came into an IDF room, naive, not knowing about project planning, but implemented a project. And also, I'm really grateful for the opportunities I received at the Young Leaders Program. I wouldn't have done it alone. Really thankful to Beatrice for helping me, pushing me through, and also so many people who knowingly or unknowingly have taught me so much about project planning. So what I want to talk about right now is our 4 lessons which I learned through the course of the implementation of my Diabetes India Youth in Action project was first theory of community organization. You should know who your people are, how you want to do it, and what requires. So basically, community organization is not just simply raising awareness. It is just not posting something on social media. It is not just writing about an op-ed and just say, I'm doing community organization. It needs to be something sustainable. It's not just publishing research or legal policy work. Community organization requires who are your people, what are your people, and why are you doing it, and what resources do you need. So kind of laying the foundation before you actually put the structure on it. So I want to also emphasize on the fact when you're building your own people, your own community, and trying to build that project, you need to have trust so that you can be interdependent. There's something called a snowflake structure in project planning where you don't go hierarchical, you just go interdependent so that one person doesn't rule your project. You kind of give autonomy to every person. Why the project DIA worked was because nobody took power on oneself. We tried to give regions and some substations to different people. One person was handling the food and nutrition part of it. These are all people living with type 1 diabetes. Some trained as a certified diabetes educator, and some just out of passion. So we try to work in this interdependent structure as a snowflake, kind of identifying, oh, how are we going to do fundraising? How are we going to project planning? How are we going to do this? Be prepared for failure. Be prepared for the timelines to be delayed. So that happens, and you as a person living with type 1 diabetes, as an advocate, have to be ensuring that this structure of interdependency works, because it will. A hierarchical structure or a vertical structure or try to build up a horizontal structure never works. Some of the other time, it will fail. So I just want to say, believe in the snowflake structure, go ahead with it, do everything possible, and make it happen. So when you know you're driven to make a difference, you want to make a change, and you have that purpose in your mind whenever you're doing it. So it's possible. You want to just hold on to the boat and be the person driving the boat. You'll be like, I'm going to do this, but you have to realize you are also one person, and you cannot dictate the whole shared purpose. You have to build that shared purpose with other people who are on your project. Make them understand what interdependency means, what's trust in a project planning, and how do we go from here. So your shared purpose is the common passion and brings a different perspective of different people from the same team you're working with, an interdependent structure. So the last tool which I learned through the experiences of Project DIA, and also working with this community as we were organizing this community, if you see this whole big circle are people living with type 1 diabetes who were motivated, passionate, trusting each other, and then made the snowflake structure happen. But there's also an important policy. If you have all these layouts there, there's something called power mapping. It's a tool which we use in strategy, where we kind of create a strategy, and we know what power mapping is a concept where you basically know what you want to do, who are your people, and how are you going to do. So identify that, and I think it is a very important tool in the reading material which Bruno handed over yesterday, and I saw it very quickly. There was a tool of power mapping on it. how to do it. And there is also a SMART goal strategy, which we use in project planning quite often. Create your SMART goal strategy, create your power mapping, and I'm happy to help you in creating that. So that's about what I did. And this is a rough layout of how the DIA Winter Camp was organized. We had lots of fun stuff. We had team building exercises, but we also had stories. Stories that empower people and stories that can also get more people in community organization and build up the transparent interdependency structure. So this is what I learned. It wasn't that easy. It took me a lot of failures to learn this, but we did it. So if you want to know more about the DIA leadership camps, the project is not currently working because of COVID. We kind of had to go like in hybrid. We then moved on to online, and we were like, okay, well, let's just stop it, and we'll do it again. But this project, thanks to young leaders, was awarded the first project for the cohort of 2017 to 19. So I'm really happy. Something small, but made a difference. And the best part about all of this is I didn't have to fall on farm of a high amount of money, and this was just a community support. This was all fundraised by the people for the people living with type 1 diabetes. So that's about from my side. I'm happy to answer any questions you guys have, and anything you would like to talk about the DIA camps, I'm available. I'm going to spend the whole day with you guys. Thank you.
We are going to start explaining to you the 6 steps to project planning. Do you want to take the first one, Bruno?
Yes, so as I said before, you just to bear that in mind, how to be strategic when choosing the topic. Of course, it has to be something that makes sense to you, but again, just think broader and in the long term. So it's important that you agree on the topic with your diabetes association, the IDF member, things, what are your strengths, and you, in order to be able to continue in the program and attend the Lisbon and to be able to participate and listen to the recording online, you had to submit your project outline. So you can use that as inspiration. I know that some people have been struggling on choosing between 1 or 2 ideas. It's fine. You can always change the topic, but just don't overthink about it. Just choose one thing and get starting. And as Apoorva said, you're going to figure it out throughout the process. So the next step would be there?
Yeah, just one comment about the first step. You really need to choose something you are passionate about. So an example here, Bruno loves running, and I will only run to save my life. So I couldn't do the project that Bruno is doing about running for diabetes because on the 3rd day, I will be super bored already. So really choose something that you like, because otherwise you're going to drop it. So you need to focus on something that you're good at.
Just one comment on that. I agree with Bea. On the ideal world, you and your IDF member would be on the same page and you could work on something that you're passionate about. But realistically speaking, this cannot happen. And you might have been asked to do something that you're not passionate about. And it's again, as everything in life, like taking into considerations the pros and cons and making the choice. Because if you want to remain in the program, and that's a condition for the YLD to continue, is that you have to be affiliated to, you have to be nominated by IDF member. So I totally agree with Bea. Choose something that makes sense to you. But in the end of the day, that's not the ideal world, and you might face a situation that you have to choose between doing something that is not your passion, but you kind of like it and remain in the program, or not doing because it's not your passion and deciding to drop off.
Okay, maybe let's take questions because some people have them. We have a 3rd microphone. I have no idea where it is. Anyways, let's start with Leonor and then Tino, and then we continue with step 2.
How involved the association should be? Like, do they have a right on choosing the topic? Or should it be our project and they help us with that? Or, because for instance, mine was like, okay, we wanted to do that, so we think it should be your project.
Okay, so it really depends on the association. Some associations are going to give you complete freedom to do whatever you want. Some others are going to say, we really would like you to work in this project that we already have. The thing is, you need to get to a compromise. So if the project they are suggesting for you, you really don't like it, you need to explain to them, look, I'm not motivated by this. I'm not going to give 100% of myself if I'm not motivated. Maybe try to think of a different angle for that project that fits your personality and your interests better. So really, this is the first discussion that you need to have with the IDF members to avoid any problems. Really sit down with them in December when you are back, or in January. You go to their office if you can, in person, it's always better. And you say, look, I would like to do something about this. What do you think? Try to find a common ground with them. Something very important as well. If you can work in a project already established by the IDF member, it may also be positive because they may have financial support to the project. That may be good for you. But again, the project needs to be interesting for you. So you need to try to find something that works for the IDF member and for you as well.
Okay, thank you. Is it working? Okay. All right, I mean, yes, working with something that you're passionate about, I agree, it's amazing. But in this case, since it's a topic that has to do with the project that IDF is concerned with, I mean, what if something that you're really passionate about, you might be passionate in doing interviews with people, right? Something that you're passionate about. Maybe it's not about interviews. But, so then, and it's not something that really resonates with what the community needs. Like people from your community, you might find that they need education, but it's not something that you're passionate about. So how then would you balance the two in order for something that you're doing to be impactful? And yeah, I don't know.
Okay, so one example here, you're saying that you are maybe passionate about doing interviews, but what the community really needs is diabetes education. Okay, have interviews with diabetes educators. And you put that on social media, and you distribute that with your community. There is always a way of really pinning things that you are interested in and what your community needs. So just try to use your talent to serve the need of the community. If you don't know, and this has happened a lot in the past, I mean, and it's sometimes, I'm not going to say the most difficult thing, but almost, to decide what you want to do. So this first step is sometimes a bit complicated. You have ideas in your head, but then how you put that into paper. So really speak with us, because maybe you have a few ideas, you don't know how to connect them, but we can help you because we have been seeing a lot of different YLD projects in the past. So you just told us this, okay, easily we can find a solution. If you have problems knowing what to do, just tell us, okay, the need of my community is this, and I would like to do this thing, but I don't know how to connect that. What can we do? We're going to be here really to help you guys these next 2 years. Please go back to us, ask us, even if you think the question is very obvious and you feel a bit silly asking, we are there to help you. It's literally our work for Bruno, for Daisy, and for me to support you. Okay, the last one, because we need to move to step 2.
I don't want to ask a question, I just want to give a comment on Tina's question, because what he asked actually happened to me personally. And the idea is that you need to find a common ground between you and your member, the IDF member organization that you work with. Sometimes what you want to do doesn't really fit in the description of what your organization is doing or delivering to the community. So you need to find a common ground where, yes, I'm trying to do what I want to do, what I'm passionate about, but at the same time, I'm not, creating any conflicts with my organization, or especially sometimes that happens in low-income countries or middle-income countries where we don't really have funds to do our own projects the way we want to do them, and maybe it was hard for us, for example, to do it because of COVID and because we had to alter a lot of the plans that we had in mind. So the thing that you need to do, like for me personally, what I did is that I got that extra mile. Well, I'm going to do everything my organization wants me to do, but at the same time, I'm going to do extra things on my own that represents me and represents what I do. So it's kind of a win-win situation, not only for you and the organization, but also for the people that you're serving, because you're doing more for them. So it's just finding a common ground and agreeing on things. Because if you went to a point where it's a blocked point, you can't go any further with your organization, that's bad, and that's not going to serve the purpose that we're here for, which is helping people living with diabetes in your community.
Thanks, Mohammed. And actually, it's good if you speak with Mohammed about this because he had some issues with his IDF member. So his experience is going to be very interesting to all of you to avoid that same situation. Okay, step 2. You want to go ahead, Bruno?
You can go.
You don't want to speak about goals and objectives, huh? Okay, goals and objectives. They are not the same thing. Normally, we use them as if they were the same, but it's not the case. So a goal is the ultimate thing that you want to achieve. So improving education in my community, or improving access to diabetes care, or fighting stigma. It's something generic and it's something very ambitious, and it's something that you are not going to be able to achieve in 2 years. This is something that requires years of work. Objectives are the intermediate stages that you need to achieve in order to walk towards your ultimate goal. For example, you have there, a goal will be improve diabetes awareness in my community. That's generic, that's ambitious, that's long-term. Something that is short-term and that you can do for your YLD project is provide general diabetes education to at least 1,000 people. It could be by 2024 for you. But remember, you need to put the deadline to achieve this, how many people you want to choose, and what do you want to do with them. And objectives need to be smart. Do you want to go to the smart objectives, Bruno?
Sure. So Thomas mentioned this really briefly. So they need to be smart, which stands for specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time-bound. A specific object has a much greater chance of being accomplished than a general one. So who I need to collaborate with, what do I really want to accomplish, where do I want to develop my activities, when can I implement my project, and why I want to do my project. There's this really famous TED Talk from Simon Sinek, I forgot the name. The inner, no, it's the something circle. I will remember later, but on which he recommends to always start with the why. So, measurable. Establish a concrete criteria of measuring the progress towards the attainment of each of the objectives that you set. How many people you want to reach? How you know when I have accomplished my objective? So feedback, some sort of survey. This is always helpful to guarantee that you are able to measure.
And this one is very important, guys. If your objectives are not measurable, in 2024 you will finish your project and you will not be able to know if you have achieved what you wanted. So really you need to work on identifying something that is measurable at the beginning, even if it takes a long time, developing the objectives, put time to that, because it's going to make your life easier when you advance with your project. I think we have a question over there. You need a microphone, we remind you.
Are we running late on time, or can I ask a question? Yeah? To me, whenever I hear the word, smart objectives, and I'm, kind of planning something, it sounds a little bit too abstract to me, When I put it on paper, it's like, okay, how can I identify whether it's specific or not, Like where's kind of the line drawn? And even when it comes to measurable, maybe that's a little bit easier, but with my type of projects, I kind of want to focus on psychological and psychosocial factors of coping when it comes to diabetics. the measure is not specifically very tangible. So you guys have mentioned, smart objectives, and we've heard them from other projects as well. But to me, I can't see it very clearly. Do you get what I'm saying? Thanks.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. I mean, one thing is to measure, okay, giving support on diabetes education to 1,000 people, and another thing, if I understand correctly, is measure if the well-being, the mental well-being of the people has improved. Probably the only way for you to do that is to have a questionnaire with people before you start your project to know how they feel before, and then to do a questionnaire after. We're going to talk a bit more about this for the monitoring phase. But yeah, basically, if you ever are working with people, and if the success of your project depends on their feedback, you need to ask them before you start your project what's their opinion on things, how they feel, what's their knowledge on a topic, because if you don't do that at the beginning, you are not going to be able to measure how you have advanced. You are going to know how are people at the end, but not at the beginning. So you will not be able to track whether you have actually made an improvement or not. Yes, but quickly, because we're still at step 2, so. Okay, anyways, when we are working in groups later, we really want you to focus on the SMART objectives, and you're going to have the help of the mentors, because it's quite difficult even for us at IDF. It takes a long time to get used to SMART and all these measurable, attainable, specific things. So you will be working on this together, and hopefully with the support of each other, it's going to be much clearer, okay? Okay, so attainable. It has to be something that you can achieve. So you need to really assess if you have all you need to achieve your objective. So I don't know, imagine this that Bruno was saying yesterday about camping in front of the Prime Minister house to demand better diabetes education or care. You will need a tent. You will probably need more people, you will need food. Do you have all of that? Well, maybe that's something that you can do. If you do not have it, you cannot do it. So make a list of all the things that you think you will be needing. And if there is something that you really think you will not be able to get, then you need to adapt your objective to make sure that you can actually attain it.
And something I think worth mentioning is about baby steps. So we love to be ambitious. I am an ambitious person, and I would assume our generation in general, it's ambitious, but also we need to take one step at a time. Otherwise, we're gonna get overwhelmed, we're gonna get frustrated, we're gonna get tired, and the chances of giving up are higher. So on that note, they need to be realistic. So do I truly believe that it can be accomplished? If not, adapt. So talking about technology, like we heard about the Dexcom guys yesterday or the day before. Like, of course, we want to guarantee the better treatment to everyone in the world. But if my country doesn't guarantee, for example, test strips or insulin, does it make sense right now to try to push for sensors or pumps and whatever? So I think that you need to be realistic and understand your reality. That doesn't mean you can just get conformed and not push for it. But again, we suggest one step at a time.
Yeah, and on this, there is always a way to adapt your level of ambition. So if you want to do something about fighting stigma in schools, your objective cannot be finished with stigma in schools in my country by 2024, because you are not going to achieve it. But it can be having educational talks in 3 schools of my city to explain to children what is diabetes and why they shouldn't discriminate people because they live with it. So just try to downscale that, and that's one baby step. Then there will be another baby step, and at some point you will really be able to make a difference in your community.
last but not least, they need to be time bound. So the objective should be grounded with a time frames. Otherwise, there's no sense of like urgency to act. So when you set like a deadline, and again, as Ines has shown, that you need to be flexible and you need to adapt and play according to the circumstances. But if you don't, if she hasn't set a first deadline, when she got hit by the COVID and everything, she might have just given up and not like being able to adapt. So this is really important. Like, and again, for the objective of the YLD program specifically, the timeline, the time bound should be December, should be the end of 2024, yeah. Yeah.
Okay, before we move to step 3, any smart question? No? Silly questions are okay too, but we're talking about smart objectives. So, nothing? Ale. Step 3, define your actions. So, when you already have your ultimate goal and a couple of objectives that you want to work in for the next 2 years, you need to define how you are going to achieve those objectives. So, different activities that are going to be part of your YLD project. One thing very important to mention here, we had a lot of YLDs saying, I have 3 different projects because I want to do one diabetes camp, then I want to do one talk in one school, and then I want to do one talk in one, I don't know, healthcare facility. Those are not 3 projects. Those are one project about diabetes education that has 3 different activities. So just, you need to have one project, guys. It needs to have like something in common, all the activities that you do to help you achieve the objective and the goal that you have set. But really think about all these different activities, and if you have a question, okay, how I can combine these to make them part of the same project, please ask us so we can give you some guidance on that.
So just giving like some examples that we have seen previously. So Apoorva, like her objective was to develop trainings, and on that she hold camps, she hold different lectures, and so on. Ines was like to support and to enhance the knowledge of diabetes in sports. She developed like 2 guides, she developed a camp, she developed like social media campaigns. So again, she had like one specific objective, and then she had multiple activities in order to deliver her project.
And maybe just another example. We, as a YLD team, we also have projects. But for example, this training summit is not a project. This is an activity of the YLD project. Another activity will be all the online sessions that we are going to be doing with you in 2023-24. Another one will be monitoring the progress on your projects and helping you with them. Another one has been all this prep of supporting people with visas, sending you invitation letters, dealing with flights. So you see there are different components, and it really, if you learn about this now, it's going to help you really not only for your YLD project, but for your professional career, because this is the way in which you develop a project. So really, guys, pay attention to that, because this is going to help you not only for diabetes and for YLD, but for the rest of your professional life.
So prepare a timeline. Once you have defined the different actions or activities that you want to develop, you can start assigning dates. Again, we don't expect anyone to dedicate full time for their YLD projects. You have other things to worry about. You have other responsibilities. So just be realistic on that. But it's really important that you set a specific time for you to do. Otherwise, you just say, oh yeah, I will do when I have time. And in the end, you never like put your butt on the chair and dedicate like a specific time for that. And
it just becomes a snowball. So even it's just like some small minutes per week or per month, again, it depends on your individual projects, but it's really important that you set a specific time for you to dedicate to that. And we'll say on the advocacy guide that we share, there's a template for timeline that can be also serve as an inspiration when planning a project.
And on that note, please guys use the templates that we prepare for you. On yesterday document, the one that we circulated, there are also templates for the power map. There are also templates for the SMART objectives, the questions that you should be asking yourself. So please use them because they are very helpful. It's also online, the document, so if you want to print multiple copies, whatever, you will be able to do that. Assess the risk. So, who knew that COVID was going to happen in December 2019? No one. But you need to be ready because, well, maybe there won't be another pandemic, and yeah, let's cross our fingers that it doesn't happen, but something may happen. I don't know, suddenly maybe you are super busy with university for one semester or for 1 year, and you really cannot dedicate all the time that you wanted to your YLD project. Or you have a health issue, or something personal happens and you do not feel with sufficient strength to work on that. You adapt, you just think of whether this is a risk that can happen to you, and you think of a plan B. You need to really assess, guys, that, and the most common challenge, and something a lot of people come back to us, I do not have money for my project. If you do not have money for your project, and if you think this is a risk, you need to plan for that. Maybe you need to do another project. Maybe you need to do something a bit easier, something that does not require funds, something on social media, something just working with your diabetes association. So that's the main challenge overall, so keep an eye on that.
And you never know when you're gonna get like stuck in a narrow street, so like seriously, yesterday I was just like talking to Jenna, who has like loads of experience on planning events, and I asked her, like, when you do your risk assessment, your risk management, have you ever like listed that a potential risk would be to get stuck like in a bus? And if each of us hadn't like had hypotreats, this could have become a disaster, but because we plan ahead and we brought our like own hypotreats, we could prevent something serious happen. So in the end, I think it's just be prepared to the unexpected, because no matter what you list and no matter how you do your risk assessment, you will come across things that are unpredictable.
Yeah, at least now we know the protocol when you get stuck in a narrow street. Okay, step 6 then.
Implementation. So find the resources, funds, grants, sponsors, donations. Again, I know that Bea mentioned about the biweekly update yesterday, but something that I have tried really hard since I joined, and for the ones that have been part of the network longer, you might have noticed that since last year, we have tried to promote some opportunities for the YLDs from external partners. So if you ever come across to any opportunity that you think that would be beneficial for at least people from a certain region or people like for our whole group, please feel free to share us, and we'll be happy to share on the biweekly updates, because I mean, there's so much resource out in the world. There's so many grants opportunities. There are so many sponsorships that it's a shame that we came across those and we don't share and support our peers to apply for them.
Well, sorry, Well, I get advantage of that opportunities because I always read the bi-weekly updates, always. They started implementing recently maybe the segment of opportunities. There was the Chevening scholarship there. I don't know if you know about it. Well,
Seriously? Did you find out through the...
yeah, that was for you from the bi-weekly updates. Well,
I'm gonna cry.
I didn't get the Chevening scholarship, but that was my inspiration to get another one that is called the British Council Scholarship for Women in STEM. That covers all for me while studying in the UK for the complete year. So that's the opportunity came from YLD.
It's not only like useless stuff, the bi-weekly updates, there is also important information, so keep an eye on that, okay?
Thanks for sharing, Dee. I had no idea about that. And also, just a comment about the bi-weekly updates. It's also a forum, a space for you to promote your own work and leverage and receive some recognition from your peers. So whenever you develop an activity, you do something interesting that you think that's worth sharing with others or you'd like to share with others, please use this space. So back to step 6, implementation. So teamwork is key. I know that sometimes we like to play the superhero. We like to be to overcome challenge, but honestly, it's really hard to implement something by yourself, especially when you are obliged to have this in partnership with your IDF members. So take advantage of that. It's fair that you ask for support. If they cannot collaborate financially, fine. They can provide you human resources. They can provide you other type of resources. So for example, if you want to do a campaign, you don't need to start like creating your own social media or your own website. Take advantage of already existed. And honestly, I think it's a fair trade if you are contributing, if you're impacting, if you're like promoting and leverage the name of your IDF member, it's fair that they give you something back. And again, this payback doesn't have to be financial. There are like other ways that they can offer you support. Situation change and plans evolve them with you, so we need to learn to be flexible and adapt the plans. And good planning will help you to react quicker if you need to adapt the plans. So.
Yeah, on this note, actually, the original plan for this training was super smooth. We invite people, we just send them the invitations, everyone gets the visa, everyone makes it to Lisbon. The actual plan is like out of the slides. So yeah, it happens to us, it's going to happen to you, and during your professional life, it's going to happen to you again. So just know that plans are going to change. You cannot do anything to prevent it, so just plan ahead. Try to have a plan B, so you can react quickly. And yeah, that will lead to really less frustration from your part, because that's a big problem that we have with some YLDs, that when they see their project do not go as planned, they get frustrated, they do not advance, and we do not want that for you.
Not only YLDs, us as human beings, like you saw by my face, or at least through my eyes, since I was wearing a mask, as everyone in this room should be doing so. That how frustrated I was last night at the bus. But I mean, it happens, and if we hadn't a plan for hypos, we could have had some major issues. So it's important to plan ahead. Step 7. Bea?
Yeah, monitoring and evaluating. So again, this is very important. Your project does not end when you do the last activity that you were planning. Your project ends when you have actually assessed and monitor all the progress that you have been doing, and we will be asking you for reports. These reports, you will find them annoying sometimes, but it's really very important for you to write down what you have been doing. We recommend you to do this all the time. When you do something, you write that down. Do not wait until we ask you for the quarterly report, but we will only ask that for you, from you every 3 months. So this is a good opportunity for us to know what you are doing and how your projects are going, but also for you to think about what are you going to do next. Do I have to adapt any plan? Oh, until I put this in writing, I hadn't realized that actually this activity didn't work out that well, so maybe next time I do something similar, I need to do it in a different way. Guys, think about what you're doing, because you are going to learn along the way. This is a process of doing. This hasn't worked out well. Okay, then the next time I'm going to do this differently, and you will find, if not the perfect formula, because there is not perfect formula, something that is almost perfect that works for you at the end. Yeah, you will need to put together evaluation and reports. Maybe your IDF members are going to ask you for this as well. If, for example, you are doing a project that has funds from a sponsor, the sponsor may need a report. So this is something that you also need to get used to do, not only for YLD, because again, when you are working in the future, you are going to have to report on what you have done to your bosses, to the people who are giving you money, to other partners. So get used to that, because this is going to be something that you will have to continue doing in your life all the time.
Oh, thank you. 2 crazy questions. First one, okay, so my project, let's say for example, I say that I want to focus on school, educating people from school, but then also I get an opportunity where I get invited on, say, weddings, and then I'm to speak of, like, it's the same thing. Do I have to put that in the report? To say, yes, I mean, this is not related to school, but it's the same thing, right? It's raising awareness. Then,
yeah, are you going to be talking about diabetes awareness?
Yeah.
During these weddings?
I mean, usually I get invited like on occasions like that, big events, community events, to speak about diabetes. I mean, that's what they only want me to speak about.
That's another activity. Totally. I mean,
Though
that's
it's not part of the project
it's
itself.
not. Why not? Why is it not part of your project? Your project is raising awareness, so.
In schools?
Yeah, but does it really matter if it's in a school or if it's in a wedding? It's the first time a YLD is doing awareness at weddings, huh? But maybe it will not be the last one.
Right.
Why?
It was just a crazy.
Yeah, why are you limiting only to schools? If you are also going to weddings and talking about this, it's another audience that you are reaching. So it's an addition that makes your project bigger.
Okay, so thank you. And
guys, start talking about diabetes awareness at all weddings you are invited to, okay?
okay, so the last one is, let's say, for example, I mean, in our associations, maybe usually when you are sending emails, they take time to respond. So, and I want to get sponsorship from, say, companies that I know. Do I have to CC you? And I mean, because my association might not be able to collaborate my story, will you step up, like to say, hey, he's doing it for maybe, say, IDF?
Okay, so one thing on this. Tomorrow, we're going to have a short training on how to write emails. It sounds a bit silly, but actually not everyone writes good emails, and we're going to give you a few tips to improve your emails. On this, it really depends. One thing that we can do for all of you is if you are, I don't know, ever meeting someone and you need, for example, a letter saying Leonor, Tino, Ines is a YLD, we can prepare that for you. If you speak with this potential sponsor and you say, hey, I'm going to send you this email, I am going to CC you the IDF team, and they can confirm that I actually am a YLD. Absolutely, feel free. Just let us know so we know what the email is about. But yeah, definitely, you can count on us for all of these. Every time that you need support to justify, let's say, that you are a young leader, we're going to be here to give you some sort of evidence of that.
But on that note, when it comes to financial support, it has to be really clear, not only on your email, but also to the partner, that the request comes from you and from your IDF member. Because sometimes you can approach, and definitely within the pharmaceutical company, that will naturally happen, we will approach like a company that is already supporting IDF, and they might like ask, wait, why IDF is like asking for support to this individual specifically if we are already supporting them on the global level. So CCing us is always like add a bit of weight to the email, because they will say like at idf.org, this may help you, but it has to be really clear and transparent to whoever you're approaching. That is a request from you and your IDF member and not coming from IDF. And
I don't know what happened this morning, but I was finishing this slide and someone asked me for something and I forgot to fill it, so I will do it now. We just wanted to put here the 7 steps, actually. I will put this in writing now, so when you are now working in groups, you have all the steps here and you can check them out. Let's make groups again, the same as yesterday, but please try to mingle. Do not just work with the same people, because also we want that you get some fresher ideas. Let's try to do groups of 6. We saw bigger groups yesterday. Please, guys, try to make it to 6. So 5 new YLDs and 1 mentor. We may have extra mentors, actually, so you sort it out. The flip charts are at the back, and we're going to get the markers for you, okay?